It's February, it's grey, it's wet and it's windy. So I'm going to hop inside the eagle enclosure. Now I had this enclosure built a good number of months ago, about 7 or 8 months ago, and it's a lovely big space with lots of ventilation. And in fact, when it comes to any new aviaries I'm building, which I'm doing quite a bit of at various locations at the minute, we're going to think about ventilation. So for example, if there's front bars or mesh, we're going to want something at the back, a bit like the gap we've got at the top here, so there's plenty of air flowing through. So 2 steps eagles. We have got Storm at the back there. She is the 11-year-old. And then down on the floor, which you can't really see, but if I lean this down, you will be able to. On the floor in the bath, we have Athena. Now, there is a good reason why a moment ago they were kind of fighting for the bath. I filled it up and they were both jumping in and out, trying to get the priority of having a bath there. And there's a very good reason. Essentially, we haven't given them a full bath of water for a while because it's been winter and it's been very icy and cold recently. It's just thawing out now. We're about 10 degrees today, so it's not too cold. And the reason is we want to avoid wingtopedemia. It's like a kind of frostbite in birds, really. And even though a steppe eagle is a big, powerful, chunky bird, and it's not really a desert bird, or they're not juvenile birds either with soft young feathers, we still want to be very, very careful that they don't get frostbite. So we've had sort of drinking receptacles for them intermittently, and then now I've decided let's give them a bath. In fact, I have been giving my hawks in particular, who love a bath, some warm baths recently, half cold, half boiling, check it with your fingers, and they jump straight in there and have a good splash about. And you can do that on milder days as well. We don't want to do that on a day perhaps when it is going to be really cold though. So we want to get these birds flying free in shows. I've mentioned this a number of times. We've had 2 issues though recently. One, time is a real problem. You need to spend a lot of time putting an eagle into flying, essentially. They're not going to do it in a matter of days like a hawk probably would. And secondly, bird flu. Bird flu is back. Well, it never really went away, but there are areas now with signs showing that it's an area that's been controlled. That means in those areas, birds have to be indoors at all times. Well, my birds are already fully covered at all times anyway, solid roof on this one here. So in that element, we don't have to worry. The area I'm in is not a bird flu area as such, but bird flu is about. Now, bird flu essentially, when it gets to the bird, it will kill it. It's very sudden that the symptoms come in. It's not like you go, oh, it's looking a bit ill, can we do something about it? It's really one of those we have to avoid, otherwise the bird will die. So really good cleaning. I've been cleaning in here today and sprayed down, making sure that equipment's cleaned regularly, in and out, that type of thing, those sort of protocols. But the main thing is, at the moment, whilst bird flu is really high, we're avoiding flying our birds outside as much as possible, with the exception of a few small areas in certain woodland and certain spots nearby, a bit like I did with the Henrietta eagle owl flying in my previous video. Now, it's easy to tell the difference between the 2 eagles because Athena has these lighter feathers on her as well. I don't mean the white bits of down coming through because she's just had a bath. I mean those kind of amber-coloured, sort of golden-coloured patches on the wings. But essentially, she is a tiny bit smaller as well than Storm. She's also much more playful, aren't you? You do like to have a good play. There's a dog toy they've completely ruined over there. And I think she's going to possibly jump back in that water again. I might have to refill it in a minute. Now, both of them have their own personalities. They're both very different, but they're great for handling, which is something which is great. And it's good to have eagles to talk about, the eagle family. Of course, you can get much bigger eagles than this. These are only really small to medium sized. In fact, someone was selling a Steller's Sea eagle recently. I saw it, I think it was £5,500 ex-display bird. It has a wingspan of probably about 10 feet and its flying weight was over 14 pounds. Even these guys at fat weight would only be about 9 or 10 pounds. Flying weight for these birds would be somewhere between 7 and 8 pounds. So kind of twice the size of something like Athena here. Housing 2 birds of prey together of any kind has always got its challenges. Now, there is a difference between breeding birds and display birds when it comes to pairing them up. A breeding pair, be a male and female, popped into an aviary and then left alone to get on with it. And usually those birds are not handleable. They're usually very wild in their temperament. In fact, if you ever go into the enclosure, then you really do need to have some PPE on, otherwise you're going to get a talon in the face and it could could end up being quite a serious injury because they're going to be very aviary defensive, especially if they're about to lay eggs or they have laid eggs or anything like that. When it comes to having two eagles in an enclosure like this, usually there's going to be some kind of pecking order, and there certainly is. Now you'd think that Athena over here, no, yes I'm right, Athena over here, you'd think that she would be the one lower down because Storm is a lot older and she's a little bit bigger. But unfortunately no, it's the other way around. In fact, Athena takes the precedence in here, she's the more dominant of the two, and Storm here just puts up with that and accepts food afterwards. Sometimes they do kind of fight for their space a little bit, but most of the time they are very content together, and I do like to believe that they enjoy each other's company to some degree. So we have the two shelves. We've got the one over here that Athena's on at the moment, and then we have another one on the other side, and the only problem with those is a little bit harder to clean because you spray them, you've got to scrub them and spray them some more, but essentially it gives them a nice perch either corner, so they've got their own little space, and then of course they've got all that floor space and the AstroTurf perch at the very front as well. The other thing we can do is have a go at flying them actually in the enclosure. Now they are very reluctant to do any flying to the glove, even though some training has happened. Now I've got a chick's head here. Do you want to eat that? Yeah, absolutely you do. Now I've also got a body there. Do you want to maybe just hop to my hand? This is the sort of training I want to do with the birds because it just starts to get them warmed up for the flying that we want to try and achieve this year. You know, steppes eagles, they're not exactly the biggest eagle in the world, but they are really a challenge to fly free. Well, I've tried for a little while and unfortunately she doesn't want to fly to my glove, but just in terms of keeping her good, we'll give her that Dio chick there. You see how quickly she swallowed that down as well. It's an incredible thing. So please do keep an eye on the channel for any future videos we're going to do on these eagles. And if we can get them flying, that would be absolutely amazing. I've got a lot of challenges this month and in the months coming, but they actually are now seeming even easier than getting a steppes eagle like Storm or Athena here to fly to the glove.